Alright, let's do this. Whew. Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's rendition of the Mazarym broadcast. I'm your host, as always, Mazarym. Thank you for joining me. Hello, hello. It's exciting. We're back. Worldbuilding Wednesday's here. It's here. We're live. We're doing it. But you might be wondering, Mazarym, or if you call me Jake, what is a Worldbuilding Wednesday? Nightbot will tell you all about it. Worldbuilding Wednesdays are streams where Maz, that's me, and the Fire Clan, that's my friends, talk about their world scoria. You can catch videos from previous Worldbuilding Wednesdays at the link below. There are no videos live yet, but I am happy to say I will have an introductory video to Scoria live by Friday, and once that gets published, all the other segments for Worldbuilding Wednesday that we've covered the past couple weeks will go live as well. I figured it was better to record a brand new intro for Scoria because I wasn't super satisfied with the one I had attempted on stream. It was also a lot to cut up, so so that intro will go live. I'm shooting for Friday. It's almost done. I've worked out most of what I want to put in there. It's short and sweet, and I hope it's a amicable introduction to the world. And then once that goes live, all the other segments will go live too. You can catch them at the link there. So, before we get into what we're covering this week, I will talk about briefly in the future weeks. We'll be talking about space, the solar system which Scoria inhabits, what are the other planets that are there, what are they like, a lot of cool stuff there, and the space race as well, and the history of space research and astronomy in Scoria. That'll be really cool. We're also gonna do at some point a new world entirely built exclusively on stream. That's right, you heard it here first. No ETA on that, but I do definitely want to do it. That's for sure. So that'll be on the radar. As far as non-World Building Wednesday stuff, more Lost Ark, more SWTOR. I mean, the worst batch. Oh my gosh! If you haven't seen that, it's on my channel. The VOD from last night. That was seriously like one of the funniest things I think we've ever done on stream. No joke. But yeah. So that's kind of what we're going for with the agenda, the itinerary for the next couple of weeks for World Building Wednesday, as well as other games that we're going to do on stream. But you notice I didn't really talk about what we're doing today. Well, you're in for a treat, my friends. So what are we covering today? You might be wondering, what could we possibly be covering today? I'll tell you. Today, we're talking about a country in Scoria near and dear to my heart. If you know, you know, because I kind of spoil it in the group chat if you're watching. Give me 1 second. Apologies for the brief interruption. We got bots in the chat. We don't want bots in the chat. Here at the Mazarym broadcast, we appreciate if you watch at all. You don't gotta follow. It would be nice. But we don't appreciate bots. And I have a handy website here that tells me if there's bots that are watching. We ban them instantly. So, sorry to say. Anyways, what are we covering this week? How could I pull this off like so fast? I gotta like open 2 tabs at once. It's like I'm not that quick. Ready? So what are we covering this World Building Wednesday? Valmora. Oh yeah, get it. Thank you, Zlyaban, for the brief introduction to Valmora, and shout out to brief disclaimer: all characters you see here are fictional, and depictions thereof of likenesses to real people are entirely coincidental, alive or dead. It's very important we make that clear when we're covering Valmora Scoria in general, because there's a lot of Scoria-isms, which is our word for things that look like real people and maybe resemble real people, but they're not. For legal reasons, they are not those people. So there you go. This took me like 10 minutes to mock up, and I'm actually really fucking proud of it. So rest assured, get used to seeing these kind of meme introductory splash screens when we cover countries in Scoria. That'll be really fun, really cool. Because we do have a couple other countries we will cover in a very similar fashion, depending on if they have as much information or not. In which case, Valmora is my country that I've worked on extensively in Scoria for the past nearly 10 years this July. We made Scoria back in middle school. This was my country that I rolled with. So I have a lot of information to share and be pleased to share with you this World Building Wednesday. So we're going to talk about a general overview of the country, regional fun facts, as well as the government as of the current year. And then if we have time after that, depending on how long that takes, I kind of want to revisit the website with all the questionnaire that we covered a couple weeks ago. It was asking some very interesting questions regarding culture and society that I haven't really answered for this country. And so, yeah, if we have time, we'll go back to that. We'll do that. So there you go. All right. That's the wrong doc blur. We're putting on a doc protect because it does show my real name in these docs, and I don't want that to be shown. So get rid of the splash screen. Put on the browser. Works like a charm. Boom. Excellent. All right. So we're going to start with the first doc, and that's this thing here. This is the Valmora doc. This is where I've kept track of all my general overview, brief information before I switched it over to Google Sheet, which I showed briefly on stream. But this is more of like a surmised, and it's a huge doc, by the way, even after cutting it down. But basic general info of the country. Yeah, so let's just go ahead. So here's the flag, Valmora. So I do actually have, let me pull that up. That's on nation states. That's the other major thing too, which I don't think we've actually discussed at all, is Scoria as a project began when we were in middle school, but also it began when we were using nation states. We don't use nation states that often anymore, but that's where a lot of the initial information regarding these countries came from. So yeah. And one of those things I have there is the meaning of the flag. So I'll go in that real quick. Here it is. So I'm just going to read this off and not show it on stream. I apologize. Or actually, you know what? It's not a big deal. We can do that here. Watch me. There's no reason not to show it on stream. Here we go. Get rid of this for a brief second. All right. So yeah, this is the nation states page of Valmora. I noticed it's called Valamore. That was the old name of the country before it was changed a couple years ago. But yeah, so the meaning of the flag and motto. The national flag of Valmora. The flag of Valmora is a tricolor consisting of 3 equal vertical bands with the colors blue, white, and teal. The colors were first adopted in 315 DE. If you've kept up with the project, the current year is 616, so this is 300 years ago, almost exactly. Following the Unification Acts, and have appeared on every iteration of the national flag since. The darker blue represents the sky. It also represents pride and the idea to move forward, the democratic values that are instilled in the Valmoran government. The darker blue also represents justice and, quote, the aspiring younger generations of Valmora. The teal, on the other side, represents the sea. It also represents loyalty, tradition, and the monarchist values that still lie within the government, as teal was a color historically associated with royalty. The current dynasty, the Atsuri-Damor dynasty, claimed the throne of Valmora in 191 DE following the Valmoran Wars of Succession. Teal is also said to represent perseverance. And then in the middle, white represents the people of Valmora caught in the throes of both ideologies that joined together. White also represents compassion, love, and the desire for peace within the island of Valmora, something long sought after until the Unification Wars, acts gave way to lasting peace. This is a little outdated because I actually threw in a Civil War event that was pretty drastic and more recent, so I'm gonna have to change that. And so also within the center is a black double-headed eagle. Their heads represent the east and west coasts respectively, joined at the body, which represents the rest of the nation's land. The eagle's talons represent, quote, the weapons of the martyrs and the soldiers that died fighting for the nation. The double-headed eagle has also historically been used in many Northern Orthodox nations in their symbology, such as the Nasa and High Vorochim, and even subnational units in provinces in provinces of countries like Guaku, Gorza, and Arkandros. And so above the double-headed eagle is the crown of Vizovi, symbolizing the unifying power between the people and the government, the Vizoda, which is the Valmoran word for the monarch. And then underneath, we might as well cover this as well. This is the national motto of the country, Kova nasobaratni reanoi dopir, also forged out of conquest, created by peace. The national motto can be attributed to the white color of the flag, a slogan faithful to the history of the nation. In times of strife and conflict did Valmora breed strong-willed and heroic peoples, and in the honeymoons of peace did Valmora bring about compassion and ingenuity. So there you go. That's the flag and motto meaning for you. Boom. Running through that. And now let's get back to this. And so these yellow parts are comments in Google Docs. They kind of cover, so this one covers the same information we just discussed. But let's go ahead and run through this. The capital and largest city of Valmora is Vorduin. That's on the southeastern coast of the country. And so some of the largest cities you can find in Valmora are Avenska Bay, Sonoma, Potkalos, and Elopan. When you refer to someone from Valmora, they use the term Valmoran. That's the demonym. And the government is a hybrid monarchy, which power is divided between the king and elected officials. Especially of the larger countries, and of all the big five countries, Valmora is the most authoritarian country. That is to say, the hereditary ruler, the king, the Vizoda, has a lot more power than you would say other presidents and even other monarchs around the world. It's one of the last vestiges of absolute monarchy that managed to slip past a lot of other reformists. So there you go. So the head of state is Vizoda Jacko II, that's the king, and the head of government is Prime Minister, who's elected Julia Alstogra. The official languages in Valmora are Valmoran and Malinkan, and the recognized minority language on the state level at least is Arkandrese. There's several other local dialects and other languages recognized depending on the region, but on the national level, Arkandrese is recognized as a special minority status. The state religion, which if you're familiar with state religions in most other countries in the real world, they are not necessarily enforced. They're more of a proclamation that people in the state follow this and adhere to this faith. That's Northern Orthodox Theosism. That's also the largest branch of Theosism in Valmora. But also there's a large Catholic and even Lahara populations in different parts of the country. So there you go. The population as of 615 DE, so that's last year, was 154 million people. And the currency they use is the credit. It's not necessarily Valmoran credit. The credit is actually used by several countries across the world. It's sort of like the first step in making an international currency. In fact, if we can go ahead and check, because I think I would like to check that. Let me research this real quick, because I know it's somewhere, and I want to share that with you. See, what's fun about World Building Wednesday is it's like a big show and tell, except I'm the one showing and telling you about everything in our world, which I hope you don't mind. So if I go here into our big old lore table, which we've also briefly looked at, the currency, the credit is used by 41 countries worldwide, from Alagosa to Venom. So there you go. Several different countries use the credit. And then we go back to here. And so we have some economic information under the credit. The GDP nominal is 2.529 trillion credits and 138,502 credits per capita. And then we have government focuses, which indicate what percentages of the Valmoran budget go to different categories. So Valmora spends 20% of the budget on defense. If you know anything about Valmora, the military is disturbingly large and frighteningly large, and it uses this in tandem with the other big five allies as a means of enforcing their ideals of a more peaceful and secure world. We did talk about the big five in a previous segment, and that video I'm actually editing right now, and that will go live soon after all the other stuff goes live. And the next category would be law and order, followed by education. Those are the three largest categories of spending with regards to the Valmoran government. And now we get into some government policies that the Valmoran government enforces or introduced. So we have devolution. Valmora is a federation of self-governing provinces run by governors, both elected and hereditary or royal, that must adhere to the laws of the national government, headed by the king and the elected government of national representatives. Free speech and association. The state guarantees freedom of speech, faith, assembly, association, and protest as fundamental rights and will never infringe on the personal rights of the citizenry. So despite being relatively authoritarian, they do profess a large emphasis on personal freedom. So it's kind of at odds with personal freedom and political freedom, be that as it may. Term limits. So if you're an elected official, you must leave office after a legally mandated amount of time. Pretty self-explanatory. Lobbying. So lobbying was actually banned sometime briefly before the Civil War, give or take 30 years ago. Lobbying is considered a form of bribery, and politicians lobbying for outside organizations are subject to up to 10 years in prison and a lifetime ban from holding public office. The organization in question may be extensively fined and in some cases barred from entering the country, either their persons or product. In addition, any assets they have in Valmoran banks may be frozen and even seized by the state. So they're very, very harsh when it comes to lobbying. Be careful if you want to open a business and sneak about, shall we say, in Valmora. Monarchy. The special status of a royal family is enshrined in law, and that's been the case for several hundred years, if not thousands, if you go back to the predecessor states across the island. State religion. The Valmoran government professes Northern Orthodoxy as the faith of the state. However, the state ensures freedom of religion or lack thereof, and there shall be no laws excluding citizens from rights or public office if they are not adherents of Orthodoxy. So that's basically just reiterating. If you don't follow Orthodoxy or no religion at all, there should be no laws taking your rights away for not doing that. Societal values. The foundation of Valmoran belief rests in a history of warring states and religious tradition. Honor, culture, and the sage advice of priests are seen as the major source of what make up, quote, Valmoran societal principles. And that's more in air quotes because this is more of a conservative or traditionalist way of thinking, and that's kind of still enshrined in a lot of the governmental doctrine. Marriage. Marriage is the legal recognition of a personal relationship upon two consenting adult partners built upon trust, equality, and love. In addition, citizens of the same sex may marry one another. So, homosexual marriage is legal in Valmora, and there's no, well, I should say, so the next section details polygamy as a marriage status is illegal. They'll only recognize one marriage at a given time. That doesn't mean polygamous relationships are illegal. But you can't have, you can't be married to multiple people at once, is what that's trying to say. AI personhood. So, for context, a lot of these policies were actually taken from nation states, and then we went back and added our own based on the same format. This is one of those, which I thought was pretty cool and interesting. So, AI personhood. AI, or artificial intelligence, may be granted citizenship upon the satisfactory result of citizenship and intelligence tests. As of right now, there's no AI characters in the canon, but that may change soon. So, universal healthcare. The state provides healthcare to all citizens. That's a very big deal in Valmora. In fact, in previous segments of Worldbuilding ones that we discussed, that medicine is actually a really big profession in the country. Identification. Adult citizens are required by law to have ID cards to be eligible for healthcare licenses, voting, and state benefits if applicable. Free education. Students are entitled to free tertiary education but must pay dormitories or other housing. Sex education. School-age children receive mandatory, medically accurate sex education. It's very important we emphasize correct and accurate information when it regards to anatomical function. It's very important. Capital punishment. This is more of a controversial one, as well as the next one. Citizens may be executed for heinous crimes. Give or take, the last execution was actually very recently, a few years ago, where they executed a general who was conspiring with the collectivist faction in the Civil War. Corporal punishment. Citizens may undergo physical punishment for crimes. And that's a big controversy, especially in Valmora, being one of the larger nations that aligns with more freer countries and more equal rights countries, but they still have these, so to speak, archaic institutions that they use to keep people in line. And also, full disclosure, this might be my country, but these don't represent my political values in any way whatsoever. So please bear that in mind, especially when we talk about other countries in Scoria. It's all to tell a story. It's not a reflection of what we actually believe in any way, shape, or form. Moving on, capitalism. Private industry is regulated and permitted within a market-based economy. Paternity leave. Parents may receive paid leave from employment to care for a newborn. That's both parents involved. Gun control. This is a big category. Citizens are permitted to purchase semi-automatic firearms following an extensive background check. Firearms may be seized in the event of a violent criminal conviction, and citizens are subject to having their right to purchase or use firearms stripped in the event of a violent criminal conviction. I can't speak. I apologize. Excuse me. Shooting ranges and gun stores are operated by public officials, usually harboring previous military or police experience. Citizens may open ammunition and supply shops and clubs that express interest in firearms as a hobby. However, residents of Vorduin, Avenska Bay, and Sheograd, that's another major city, are prohibited from owning firearms. Foreigners are allowed to visit gun ranges if they pass a background check before entering the country. Foreigners seen carrying firearms or expressing interest in obtaining illegal firearms may be arrested and deported. Concealed carry is permitted to plainclothes police officers, Justicars, those are the Royal Guards, and other members of national security services and law enforcement. So yeah, Valmora is very big on gun control, and there are certain parts where you can't own guns, period. Other weapons. Citizens are permitted to purchase tasers, pepper spray, and electroshock weapons without prior experience nor background checks. However, some provinces may require training sessions for electroshock weapons and other means of self-defense. Alcohol. Citizens 18 and older may consume and purchase alcohol. Open containers of alcohol within a car, regardless of the suspect's blood alcohol level, that's the BAC, will result in a 6-month driving suspension and a varied criminal conviction. Public drinking suspects are also subject to various criminal convictions. And then we got tobacco. Citizens 18 and older may consume and purchase tobacco. However, the state, and while consumption of tobacco is legal in Valmora, it's discouraged at the state level. Tobacco manufacturers are required to provide bold, detailed packaging of the long-term effects that tobacco has on the body. Cannabis. Citizens 18 and older may consume and purchase cannabis products. Opioids. Certain opioids are illegal, and those practicing in medicine are subject to prison time, loss of license, and other certificates if they are found prescribing illegal drugs, or in other words, sort of like over-the-counter drugs that you would require for consultation. In addition, Valmora forbids the advertising of prescription-based medications and encourages citizens to be conscious of their own health and talk to a doctor about what may be best for them and their medical condition. Gambling. Gambling is illegal in all Otritors but the Otritor of Andorra. Andorra. An Otritor is another word for the region of the province. Nuclear power. Valmora is primarily powered by nuclear energy. Climate treaty. Valmora is a signatory to an international climate treaty. Space program. Valmora is a space program. Standard measurement. Valmora adheres to an international system of measurements. WMDs. Valmora claims the right to use WMDs. We don't actually know if they own any, but it's often speculated that they do, given the size of the military. Military intervention. This is a controversial one. Valmora claims the right to militarily intervene when Valmoran sovereignty and their citizens are threatened, or to, quote, alleviate humanitarian suffering within despotic borders. That's a very broad definition. So to speak, basically Valmora claims, for whatever reason that they deem necessary, they'll go in and mess things up. And lastly, for policies, we have immigration. The Valmoran government encourages immigration through their specified programs, that is Immigration Protocol, Jus Sanguinis, or the Foreign Legion. And then we have a comment here that explains what that means. I just want to see what this looks like on stream. Cool, it doesn't show anything. So this comment clarifies what that means. Valmora practices both Jus Solis and Jus Sanguinis. Here's what applies. And there's some bullet points here. If you were born in Valmora, you receive citizenship upon birth regardless if your parents were citizens. If you were not born in Valmora and one of your parents was a Valmoran citizen, you were eligible for citizenship. If one or both of your biological grandparents was a citizen, you are eligible for fast track to citizenship. If you have a family member with a recent history, if you have a family member in recent history with a Valmoran citizenship, they can send a petition to grant you a fast track to citizenship. And there's a unique category called Jus Debitum, which is a law for foreign military veterans and their families. So basically, If you were a member of the Valmora military and deployed during war, you're eligible for citizenship. Or if one of your parents or grandparents were, you're also eligible for fast track to citizenship. So that martial culture is still prevalent even in immigration policy. And then we have some international organizations that the Valmoran government is a part of. So it's the UN, which is they were a founding member and a permanent member of the Security Council. The Valskorian Council, which is the interregional council for the region of Valskoria. The Meridian Pact, which is a defensive pact inside the Valskorian Council that they're part of. The Crown of Jovi is the Valmoran Commonwealth. So when we talk about the Valmoran Empire, this was the organization set up after the empire's collapse, but they still wanted to keep all these countries together. Do keep in mind, not every member of the empire is part of the Crown of Jovi. And also, brief note, Gorza, who is part of the Crown of Jovi, and Valmora share the same head of state. Then we have the Kingmakers International Intelligence Agency they're a part of. They're in union and communion with other members, other churches of the Northern Orthodox Church. The International Credit Union, we talked about the credit as a currency being used by 40 other nations. That's what this organization is here. And lastly, the Big Five and the Big Ten, which are the two major military alliances consisting of the victors of World War II and the Big Ten, who are the most influential nations aligned with the Big Five. So there you go. Those are international organizations and affiliations and policies otherwise used by Valmora. Now let's talk about ethnic groups, because that's the next category here. So this is a breakdown of ethnic groups you can find in Valmora by percent. And so 59.5% of people living in Valmora with Valmoran citizenship are Valmorans. And that's broken up into Valmorans proper, Malinskis, who are Valmorans who speak Malinkin first or only learn Malinkin. That's 19% of the people. And then you have a category of 2%ers called Izushenti, which are Valmorans born outside of the country. Then you have other Valskorian groups at 20%, the largest being Arkandries at 42%, because if you look at a map of Valmora, Arkandras is actually very, very close. It's going to be on like this side of the country. So here's Valmora, this is Arkandras. And there's other groups such as Vaskorians, which are also Vedians, Harisians, Gorzans, Pogami, which are actually a group native to Samandar but emigrated to Valskoria in the Middle Ages. They're a nomadic group. They're very prevalent in certain parts of Valskoria. Rialayans, Izvokans, Egelanians, Guwakins, Cantanians, Hranic people, and Tavibosans, and Jidasi. Jidasi is the word in Valmora used to describe wisdoms that come to Valmora. The next largest ethnic group demographic will be Talmari at 7.5%, the largest being Malinkins at 37%, followed by Nicterians, Arcosians, Valdish, Donasans, Morvakians, Leonese, Chivinans, and other groups from Talmere. And then we have more other minor groups that are in Valmora, such as Cassavans, the largest being at a third of all Cassavans being Alagosans, followed by Ragwans and other Cassavan groups. Then at 3% we have Labokans, but nearly almost over two-thirds I'm so bad at math, I apologize. Almost two-thirds of people in the Labokan category are Sulgari at 62%, followed by other Seluts groups, Nidawayans, and other groups from Laboka. And then more minor demographics in the country include 1% being Bosmarians, 0.5% being Listrians, and a whole 5% of variety of other people, whether they're from other regions, other countries, or maybe they're mixed groups, and that includes the other category. And now we get into a more detailed breakdown of the 79% of Valmorans. Yes, that's correct. Actually, sorry, 59.5% of people that are Valmorans. What does that consist of? What are we dealing with here? So over half of those people are Ishenti, or Eastern Valmoran groups. These are groups that are historically associated with the eastern side of the country and the historic kingdoms that resided there. So we have Valmersians, Despians, Talmorvalians, Jalvari, Haskari, Xovari, Gormani, Varani, Gupali, and Endoi. And what are some of these other groups we're not familiar with here? So obviously Valmersians, Despians, Talmorvalians, those are separate regions entirely. They're very unique, very large groups. But these guys, so the Jalvari, Haskari, and Xovari, are the three major clans of the Marsal region. These groups are further broken down based on their patronic or matronic tribes which are identifiable by their last names. So these are Marasali groups bolded here. And then these two, the Gormani and Varani, are groups descended from the oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. These are groups descended from the Dovari. The Dovari are the oldest unchanged Dharamic group in Valmora. In fact, let me I do want to define this real quick since we're talking about Dharamic people for the first time. It's important we highlight what that means. So let me pull up the map, the world map of Scoria. It's important we discuss this as well. Does that go through? No, it doesn't. I'm going to add a new source. Screen source, I believe. New source. Paint. Cool. I know you can't see me for a second. I apologize, but that's okay. I hope. So here's Valmora, right? And then we want to talk about what are Duramic countries. The Duramic countries are Regalea, Gorza, Tavibos, Isvokas, and Haricia. These are Duramic countries that are historically, culturally very similar in their language and sometimes their religion. But if you want to talk about what they're closely related to, they're related to these guys here. These are the Varic countries: the Dinasa, Grisvak, Volganar, Tesova, Ivarkea, Chevenach, Morvac, and Arcosia. A long time ago in the medieval period, Duramic groups, especially from southern Valscoria, emigrated, quote-unquote emigrated, and invaded this part of Talmere, going back and forth, and for the most part settling there, and they created the new Varic group. So these two groups of countries are actually very similar genetically and linguistically speaking. So there you go. I didn't include Arkandros, given how close it is. It's kind of a mix of Valmoran Duramic and Guacu Hranic groups. Arkandros as a group, Arkandries, is very close to Guacan as opposed to Valmoran. Anything else that we talk about? We'll come back to this, but that's kind of what I was getting at there. So there you go. Where were we? Okay. Kupali. What are Kupali? Kupali are actually Hranic peoples of Despia and the Marasal, closely related to Guacans and Arkandries. So kind of like we just said, the Duramic groups, the Kupali are a minority group closer to Guacans and Arkandries. Okay. And obviously Andoi are native to the island of Andoa, which is a region we'll talk about soon, very soon. And next, at 43.5%, we have Obishenti, or Westerners from the western part of the country. Those include groups like the Avensk, Janyari, Senomans, Drentomari, Samarkali, Obasi, Mitasi, Ozarai, and Narahamites. Then we have some other groups that are unique, such as the Molkani. The Molkani are actually a Vascorian group, Vascorian-speaking group living in Molkan and Opalis, which are two islands in Mitas. So if we go back to our map here, we go to Mitas. Some of these islands they're not defined, I apologize, but they're closely related to these guys right here in the purple down here. So there you go. That's the Molkani. And then we have Ozarai. Ozarai are Hranic peoples of southern Sildranta, so another Hranic group that survived despite being surrounded by Duramic people. And then we have the Narahamites, or Theosis of Samarkal. Samarkal is a largely Lahada or Qasim religious region, and these are the remaining Theosis adherents in that region. Excuse me. Apologize. So that's ethnic demographics. And then we have religious demographics. So the largest religion by far is Theosism at 57%. Then we break down the largest branches of Theosism. Orthodoxy at nearly 60%, then Catholics at 30%, and then Tarsician Reform at 8%, and then another 3% that are other Theosis entirely. And then at 20% we have the Qasims or Lahada, and an overwhelming majority of them are Uranite Qasims at 86%. And then we have 10% of people that are non-affiliated or irreligious, 7% Andoshi, which is a native religion in Andoa, and then Koru, which predates both Lahara and Theosism at 4%, and then 2% other religions, mostly Dream Conjuring. So there you go. Moving on, and these are the administrative divisions. These are the administrative divisions or the Otrators of Almora. Like I said, Otrators is another word for region. and so they're color coded. If we pull them like this, perfect. It's full front and center. Um, so starting with Andoa, which is this guy right here, this island. The capital is Volumgrad, and I have a comment here saying if the capital is bold, it's the largest city in that region. So yeah, Volumgrad, the largest city in Doha and the capital. Oh my gosh, next is Avensk, which is down here. The capital being Avenska Bay. As we discussed, Avenska Bay is a large metropolitan city center in the southern part of the country. And then we have in the interior Balogor. Can you even see my cursor? I apologize. But so this region in the middle with the blue text is Balogor. So in case you can't see my cursor. The capital is Zhedova, but the largest city in Balogor is actually Vodime. And then next up here in the northeast, we have Despia. Apologize, I got a message on my phone. Pardon me. Whose capital is Despia. Pretty simple name. And the largest city in Despia is actually Paranthia, which is more inland. Then we have next on the islands on the west coast of Drantomar. The capital. Is it Drantomar? I guess Drantomar is a city and an island. So, yeah, there's that. It's also the largest city in Drantomar, for what it's worth. And then next in the northwest, we have Janyar, the capital, largest city being Sheograd. That's what that S with the squiggly line means in Valmora. That's a SH, actually. And then going back to the east coast, we have Marasal in the red text. The capital is Ilopan, and the largest city is actually New Akarzia, which has a large Archondrese population. Going back down to the south, we have these islands down here. That's Mitas. The capital is Kadraxis, but the largest city is actually Turanai. And here we have, you see, there's the Mokan and Opalis Islands closer to the eastern side of the country. Excuse me, I'm just a little congested. I apologize. And next, in this big interior region, the pink text with the cross, that's the Obaz or Obasia. The capital largest city is Tilachis, which means the wall, which we might discuss in the fun facts. And then back up north is Samarkand with the crescent, that's the Qasim region. The capital is Vostar, but the largest city is actually Naraham. And then going back onto the west coast, this huge vertical region right here, that's called Soldranta. The capital largest city is Sonoma. And then going over here next to Arkandroth in the gray, on the southeastern part of the country is Tamarval, including these islands of Senroth and Skazoria. The capital is Debeljavor, and the largest city is Yagnetsi. And last but certainly not least, southeast with the crown and the teal text, Valmercia, which has the national capital, which is the largest city in the region, Vordowen. Boom. So that's a brief breakdown of the regions and the capital cities and larger cities. We'll cover more of them and information about them very soon. And now we get into a simplified timeline of events. Let's see if I can do this without looking anything up. So, prehistory of Valmora is a lot of Duramic and Hranic groups moving in and out of the country. Duramic groups are spreading out, but they're being pushed in further inland and into the west coast by the Hranic groups coming in from the east, which leads us into the Duro-Hranic merger, which is a very fundamental and important event in the history of this country, which introduces sort of a cultural bond between these groups. Sure, there was still fighting, but for the most part, these groups just sort of merged and created societies of their own over time, which leads into the city-states, which were actually set up mainly by Hranic groups on the east and southern coasts. These city-states were often in league with each other and traded and flourished and were very prosperous, but would be subject to raids by other seafaring peoples as well as Duramic groups from the inland. A notable example would be the Balo-Skald dynasty several thousand years ago, which came from who knows where. It was probably Balogor, and raided and ruled Vordowen at the time, which was called Halamdar, for several hundred years. And then we have the Savam period of the Savamites. These were the formation of larger kingdoms across the island, and they were in league with each other for a short time. This league was called the Savam, and before unification in modern times, this was the last time Valmora would be unified for thousands of years. And next we have the introduction of Theosism. This is an important period because following the Savam, um, the West and the East split up into several other kingdoms, but would unify into their respective spheres as time went on. The Western kingdoms formed what was called the Obekrenia, Eastern Kingdom, so to speak, and then the East was a single authoritarian uh, unit that was simply the Valmersian Kingdom, and it ruled over basically north to south the entire East Coast, and had some larger aspirations as time went on. It's funny. Sorry, my dad sent me a picture of a cute dog. And then we had the introduction of Lahada to the world, and as well as Valmora. So when Lahada was first conceived, and it caught on very quickly in Laboka and spreading into Valscoria. And there were subsequent raids in the northeastern and eastern parts of the country that ultimately pushed these invaders into the interior of the country, where they found themselves in Samarkand. And that's actually where Samarkand gets its large Lahada population from. You see, Samarkand for the longest time was distraught not only with intimidation and bullying from the East and the West kingdoms, but also with its own rulers were seen as being incompetent, tyrannical, and just outright horrible. So these Lahada invaders provided a new opportunity in the bleak times for the Samarkali, and many of them converted to Lahada and joined their ranks, and thus establishing the big and large mountain region of Samarkand as independent for a long time between these two larger kingdoms on the island. So there you go. And then we have the Hundred Years' War between Valmercia and Cantus. This is a very complicated and interesting conflict that sprang out from basically Valmercia sticking their nose where they shouldn't belong. So this started when I apologize, got a crick in my neck. There was a prince from Cantus that married into an Evensk royal family, and assuming things would play out, this prince would become the ruler of the Avensk area. It's important to note that Avensk was not under the control of Valmercia, but they saw this as an affront and offense to their culture, and that the Cantanians were conspiring to take over Valmora, starting with the west. So Valmercia went to war, and they fought over 100 years between themselves, their land. Let's pull up the map so I can show you, better describe the battlefield we're dealing with here. So here's Cantus, here's Valmora, this is where Avensk was, right? So this 100 Years War spanned basically these islands between them. And there were turning points, that's for sure, but nothing super notable or any final pushes to, permanently, I apologize, finish one another. So important to note that there. Next, we have the War of Valmoran Succession, which we talk about quite a bit. The West building up forces as the 100 Years War played out between the East and the Cantanians, and they enlisted the help of a very formidable ally in the form of the Malinkan Empire, which was the largest empire by land area ever, period. And so they wanted to help the West and hopefully have an inlet into interior Valscoria, which was being blockaded by the Fates and the Eastern Kingdom. And so the Valmoran Succession War played out. The rulers, or should I say, the relatives of the Western rulers took over the East and eventually took over the West and briefly united about 80% of Valmora. And then we had the state of Rasumar, which was like a domino effect. So you had the 100 Years War, the War of Succession, and the state of Rasumar. The state of Rasumar was set up in the Marasal region as a bandit rump state, taking advantage of the weakened Eastern Kingdom, much like the West did. And so these bandits, or Haiduks as they were called, formed a state of their own and briefly governed that area of the island for some time until they were put down. And then we have in the 300s the unification and formation of the Valmoran Empire, so unifying the last holdouts, the last vestiges of independent states such as Samarkand and Andoa. And then once Valmora was finally unified, they declare themselves to be an empire. And then we have several, give or take a century, of various conflicts that aren't mentioned here because it's a simplified timeline. We get to the Balkan War, which is a very important event in the history of the Big Five, and Valmora. This is like the first time all 5 states that are present in the Big Five today work together in some form. And then we have the World Wars, which are very important, but we're just going to kind of gloss over them and talk about them for some other time. The Clanarian insurgency is actually the Civil War. So you had the monarchist government on one side and the collectivist, socialist Valmorans on the other. These Valmorans were being peddled currency and arms by the the collectivist Clanarians. The Soviet Clanarians is the old name for them. I apologize. So that conflict played out. It was deadly. It was gruesome. But after the Civil War, the Valmoran government, which retained control, took the war over to Talmair and fought them and capitulated their government. And then we get into modern times, the modern year. You'll see the slash with slave raiders. Slave raiders is the name of the event we're talking about with corporate militias in Illustrious. Open the map again. Sorry. Corporate militias in this part of the world running up into Gatau, which is this yellow country, and setting up very illegal, very bad operations. So a coalition of Siginuvians, Basirs, Valmorans, Vedians, and Nigerians going into Illustrious and stopping those corporate militias from taking over that part of the world. That's what we're dealing with in the modern times. So there you go. I'll definitely do a video about the timeline in its entirety. I kind of want to narrate it and have a better grasp of what I want to say. So no ETA on that, but that'll definitely be a thing I want to cover for sure. So moving on. I need a sip of water. That's a lot of talking for me. You don't understand. Like, I'm a quiet guy. Like, oh my gosh. Man. Whew. All right. And so here we go. Different category here entirely. This was a fun category actually suggested by Alex when he started getting back into Scoria with his country Royalises, which we'll definitely cover as well. And he's like, we should talk about the largest companies in our country by profit. And I was like, that's a good idea. So these are the largest domestic companies by profit. So first we have Miluz. And you see the Valmoran Cyrillic, or in our context, the Uralic alphabet spelling of each company. So you have Miluz, which is like a large grocer. Think like Walmart or Target, but more Walmart because it's like the largest grocer in the country. And next we have Benzina Valmore or Valmoran Petroleum, also known as VP, which is an oil and gas company. It's a public trading company as well. Excuse me. And then we have the Valmoran Electric Service, which is a public electric service for most of the country. And then we have the Royal Bank of Vorduin, which is a state-owned bank, more prominent in the eastern side of the country, but there's more branches coming to the west as well. Next, we have Kozakari Pharmaceuticals, which is a private pharmaceutical company that produces a lot of the drugs the Valmoran state hospitals purchase, and then manufacture those drugs. And then we have Dalde Insurance, which is more, think, auto and housing insurance, not so much medical, because the state provides that for you. Next, we have a manufacturing company called 17 Viator, and so what that signifies, the month of Viator and the day 17th is a national holiday in Valmora, so they named their company after that holiday. Next, we have IT Ilopan, which is the largest telecommunications company in the country. Then we have the Royal Family, which is the Azeri Damor Foundation. They are the parent company for a lot of the assets the Royal Family owns, such as museums, parks, castles, and other tourist attractions, and even some other corporate interests, such as there is a cannabis company the AD Foundation operates, led by one of the princes, and they're very, very, very profitable with that regard. So a lot of different hands and different businesses, you could say. And lastly, the 10th largest company is Griffin Post, which is a courier company, or like mailing, shipping. In fact, the name is derived, The name Griffin Post is derived from the fact that before the invention of the airplane, couriers would go on griffins and deliver mail and messages to each other. So very interesting there. And now we have a gallery, a brief one, of cities and regions across the Valmoran nation. Sorry. Whew. So here's some pictures of cities and regions. We have Vordu and Old Town and Valmercia, very beautiful bay area with mountains, fjords coming down, and historic city districts. Next, we have Avenska Bay, which is a similar story, but far more metropolitan in cityscape regards. Then we have Kvodime and Balogor, a pretty decently sized urban area, but still some elements of agrarian and what's the word I'm looking for? Not as it's still an urban area, but not as urban as some of the other areas, and that's largely in part to a lot of the MPs in Balagor exhibiting very pro-environmentalist policies. So these buses you see here in transits is all electric, no diesel, no gas in Kvodime. Then we have Kejadic Square and Naraham and Samarkand. Prince Kejadic was a very, I shouldn't say very, he was a prince in Samarkand during the Magassian Revolution. He, in fact, was the leader of the forces Valmora sent to Magashhold. Open the map. Boom. So Valmora, you were very familiar with. Magashhold, this tiny purple country right here. Bagior and Magashhold, same culture, different religion. And so it was a big motivator for the Valmorans to reach out and help Magashhold break free from their tyrannical Bagiorian cousins. And then we have Avosep and Drantomar, a very beautiful, but also kind of jarring and almost scary ancient cityscape. These cities, like these buildings, look like they're carved from the mountain, and people just kind of lived there for centuries at a time, their whole families. Very historic area. And then lastly, or not lastly, excuse me, a picture of Turanai and Mitas. This amphitheater here is actually very, what's the word, representative of the Vescorian history of the island. See, these islands were contested between the Avensk and the Vedians, but before them, there were Vescorians present in this region in ancient times before the Rama groups got a hold on these areas. And last but not least, a large urban area in the southeast, but actually north of Forduin, would be Debel Yavor and Tamarval. This is actually the newer districts of the town that they're building. Very beautiful and bright and fancy looking areas. And here we get into some historic flags of Valmora. This is the flag of the Kingdom of Valmercia, and that's how long it lasted. So 402 BDE is when they adopted this flag, and 191 is actually the War of Valmoran Succession, when they got basically destroyed by the West. And here we have a war banner flown by the East Kingdom, or Obekrenia, during that war, which reads, Somo Udina Sachuva Valmore, or only unity can save the Valmorans. And so the Westerners saw themselves as fair and better rulers determined to unify the Valmoran state, which they would. This next banner is the flag of that bandit kingdom of the Marasal, the state of Rasimar, and you can see how long it lasted, give or take 30 years. Still pretty long for a bandit kingdom, you would say. And then we have some flags of the Valmoran Empire at various points in history. This was the first rendition of the tricolor, like we discussed, with a cross instead of just the eagle. They would adopt the eagle sometime 80 years later. I'm sorry, I'm like so congested. I don't know why. I apologize. But see, this flag is no longer used with the gold trimmings on the eagle. It just looked better without them, you might say. Then we have the flag of the unrecognized state People's Republic of Valmora, but was actually recognized by quite a few collectivist and totalist countries still prevalent at the time. And then to wrap things up in this dock, we have a equestrian statue of Deogam, who was the first king of Valmora, very prominent and very powerful, famous historical figure. And then we have a picture of Jeko II at Seri Damor, the current king of Valmora. And what's important to keep in mind, Not everybody here is going to be like this, but a vast majority of them are. This is an AI generated image. If you're familiar with thispersonsnotexist.com, we use that a lot for these figures in our country. It's just safer and it's more reliable, and hopefully we don't come across as offending anybody. Uh, by doing that. So that's a very handy tool for us to have likenesses of our leaders and other figures in Scoria. So there you go. And so yeah, that's all I have for this doc. Um, Before we move on, I'm gonna take a quick break, and I think we want to do. Should we do government or fun facts? Um, I kind of want to do government next, so we'll do that. But before that, I'll be right back. Alright, we're back. Sorry about that brief absence, everybody, but yeah, we're here, we're back, that's alright. I just read a really interesting post on the World of Warcraft subreddit that, with regards to an expansion leak, whether or not it's legit, I couldn't tell you. I will say the logo is by far, I think, the most convincing one I've seen this leak season, and it kind of detailed a brief summary of what's going to happen according to the leak. That there's going to be a time skip after Shadowlands, and the dragons are uniting the whole planet against the Void. Sounds kind of cool. I don't know. Just thought it was interesting because it used that same logo. It could honestly just be like really well done. To be fair, we won't know until they announce it. I don't know when they want to announce it. I'm hoping it's soon. I would love some information about the next expansion, but I digress. So, but going back to some more world building Wednesday, let's talk a bit about the Valmoran government, shall we? So here we have the incumbent government, the monarchy, and the great offices of state as of 615, which is a year ago. So Valmora has elections every 5 years, and that includes the last election being last year. So these guys, excluding the hereditary or appointed offices, have been in office but a year. Hello, Jenkins. Shout out to Jenkins, my dog. So let's talk about the Vizota, the King, Jacko II at Suri Damor. So what is the Vizota? He's the head of state and military, a hereditary royal office that dates back to Valmoran unification in 315 DE. And some fun facts about him, and you'll see this for all the other characters we list here as well. And also, full disclosure, most of these are AI generated images of people. They're not real people, they just look like real people. But they're these people, which are fictional, and any resemblance to people that are real, living or dead, is entirely coincidental. So there you go. Thank you. So he's a veteran of the Clenarian War, which we discussed was that war that was spawned from the Civil War aftermath, and he was a squadron leader with the 44th Legion. He was captured during the Siege of Sirmor and later present in the climactic Battle of Drosenrat. He speaks 4 languages: Valmoran, Malinkin, Kals, which is the largest spoken language in Guaku, and Arcandrese. He plays music in his free time, mostly the tambura, which is a very traditional Valmoran folk instrument. Prior to the war, he wanted to become an architect and occasionally will sketch designs for monuments and other buildings of notable or potential importance. And he's also left-handed. So there you go. That's the king of the country. This is his wife, the Visodama, the queen, the empress, Melanie at Zeridamor, who was born Melanie Dauluam. So the Visodama is the spouse or the wife of the Vizota, acting as a ceremonial supervisor over internal affairs and is considered, quote, the guardian mother of Vorduin. So they got married in 599 DE, so they've been together for, well, I should say they got married and they've been married for 17 years? They met in a kafana, or a cafe, in Turanai Mitas. Melanie Daluam is ethnically Arcandrese and is the first, so to speak, non-Valmoran royal spouse. So every, whether it's a husband or wife of a monarch or a member of the royal family, they've all been Valmoran, except for this one. That's the first one that's not been. She's an accomplished artist, and she auctions off a lot of her famous works for charity. So in a country full of coffee drinkers, she prefers tea, and that's kind of been the trend recently for other members of the royal family, so to speak. That's what that parentheses comment means. Drama ensued in the media when she decided to send her kids to Malinsky schools. So the kids of Melanie and Jekko would actually learn Malinkin first before Valmoran. And then her father leads a life of modesty, running a gusle shop. And a gusle is another traditional Valmoran and Arcandrese instrument. So that's a brief info on the Queen of Valmora. And now we have the Prime Minister of Valmora, Julia Alstogra. And this dash right here and this abbreviation is the party affiliation that she's a part of. So she's a member of New Wave, which is a we'll get into party information later in this doc, I believe. So, in fact, let me just double check. There's the number of seats, but not so much what they represent. So, you know what? You know what? After this, I'll pull up party information doc as well. In fact, let me do that right now. Excuse me, just so we have it. It's important. Oh, that's the doc from last time. I'll open that, but I need to find party information. So I have to put in, for example, I may not have given my other account access to that. So let me do that real quick. Apologize. I'm almost certain it's under the Parliament. Uh, it's not listed. Oh, it is. So what I'll do actually is I'll just copy paste this section from the Parliament doc, which is outdated, and paste it under here. And we'll talk about that once we're done looking through everybody. Perfect. Cool. Let me just add dictionary, add dictionary, add dictionary. So we covered Julia. We're covering Julia right now. Okay, cool. Okay, back to this. Back to our regularly scheduled programming, shall we? So Prime Minister Julia Alstogra from the party New Wave. The reason New Wave is actually, as the name implies, a very new party, but they were able to get power by sort of not legally, or sorry, legally conspiring with other parties to team up in Parliament. In fact, larger coalitions were banned, and the monarch actually broke up the two largest coalitions which governed domestic politics for 100 years. And so there was some insider stuff going on, and that also led to the ban on lobbying. And combined with those two policies put in tandem, gave way for a lot of other smaller parties to gain power in Parliament, which is what we're seeing here. So Julia Alstogra of New Wave is the first third-party prime minister in over a century. So her home prefecture is the city of Ozor. She co-founded New Wave in 607, so this is a very new party, founded 9 years ago, which is a splinter group of progressives and paternalistic conservatives. She's a Malinsky, meaning her first language was Malinkin, not Valmor. Ozor, the city of Ozor, is actually on the west coast, which is a large Malinsky population, in fact. So there you go. Her party, New Wave, is the first third party to gain a majority of seats in 100 years. This has largely worked in her favor due to corruption scandals in Parliament and the coalition ban. New Wave campaigned on upholding social elements of government and promising swift legislative action. And so the Prime Minister of Valmora lived in a place called Burajim Palace in Vijovi, which is the historic Old Town district of Vornova. Burajim Palace is named after Theodor Burajim, who was the first Prime Minister of Valmora. And so, a brief comment regarding Alstogra and her appointments. Her appointments were made on the basis of qualification and not party lines. 2 of the 6 great offices of state include prominent centristi or centrist party members, which were seen as wise choices for those positions. Many of the minor offices of state include more New Wave party officials, as well as centristi and Visomol members. This is the first government which excludes formerly major right and left-wing parties such as Valmora Uyed, Stratito Liberal, Zomagard, and even the royalist Korisi parties. So, this is like the hipster government as of 615. A lot of new faces and new ideologies in play here. So next we have the Deputy Prime Minister, Juratar Delaci. He's also from New Wave. I almost said New World. His home prefecture is Bava, which is actually in western Vordowen, which is why it says West Vordowen. And so Mr. Delatzi he was the former mayor of of Vordowen, and he was also the co-founder of New Wave, renouncing his membership from the Coradel coalition after he was appointed mayor in 602 DE, a move seen that was initially viewed as political suicide, as you can imagine. Deputy Prime Minister Delatzi was an influential voice in bringing progressive ideology into eastern Valmora, which is generally and far more conservative than the west part of the country. He's also a film enthusiast and spent much of he's made several cameos and appeared as extras in films that were filmed in Vordowen, which is pretty funny. And in his youth, he was a pioneer in music, bringing over Talmari folk styles to Valmora after backpacking in Aurora and southern Nyteria. So that's Mr. Delatzi. Next, we have the Minister of Defense, also known as the Archai, Halos Metadown, who's actually independent. So the Archai is the head of the military, and that word means great overlord in the Dovari language, which is now extinct. Mr. Meradown, Archai Meradown, was a close friend of the monarch. The two met in childhood and fought in the Clenarian War, or the War as it's called. The royal family went into hiding during the collectivist insurrection, or the Civil War, following a series of terrorist attacks in Vordowen at the time. They took on alliances while living modestly in a small village in Balogor, which is how the young monarch met a young Halos in a farming village known as Arzin. I may want to tell a short story about Arzin and what happened in Arzin during the Civil War. The first decree of Jacko when he became monarch was appointing this man right here to the exalted office of Minister of Defense. And so a couple other fun facts about him is he claims he spent more time at sea than on land, and none dare disprove the Archive. That's something you don't do, especially in a country like Valmora with that strong martial spirit. You don't want to question those in authority, especially in the military. He's a chemistry major wanting to study and work with nuclear energy. And he was arrested once for refusing to pay a parking ticket in Sonoma, thrown in jail for the night, and bailed out by the king. His great uncle was an infamous mobster from the Arcandry Civil War, known only as Big Ricardo, but Commandant Meridown has actually denied these claims. And lastly, he was the godfather of Danilo at Zeridimor, who is the heir apparent to Valmora, and when Jaco decides to abdicate or kicks the bucket, Danilo is going to be the next king. So that's Halos Meridown. And then we have the Minister of the Exchequer, also known as the Treasury. Her name is Tamara Sholak, who's from the Centristi Party. She's from Ilopan, that's her home prefecture. She's half Sulgari. Her mother's from Maiko, which is a former Valmoran colony, and her father was an airline pilot. She served as a financial analyst for the Ilopan City Council and later the Valdish-based Rhodes Corporation. She's in fact one of the youngest members of Parliament and the youngest Minister of the Exchequer in Valmoran history. So that's Ms. Sholak for you. Next we have Vilja Jadas, also from the Centristi Party. She's from Vostar, which is in Samarkand, and she was a history professor at the Kermachli University of Vostar. She's also a Clenarian War veteran, and she championed for religious rights for costumes or lahada outside of Samarkand as the Orthodox Church attempted to enforce their rights on the irreligious, which was bad, so she campaigned against that, which is good. In addition, she wanted to legalize further substances, so she's more on the liberal side of Centristi, which is interesting. And that's what we have for Ms. Rajadas. Next, we have Foreign Secretary. I apologize. She's the Home Secretary. I should make a note of that. And then we have Foreign Secretary Peter Sodan, also from New Wave. He's from Potkalos, which is in the southwestern part of the country. He's the son of Naval Admiral Victor Sodan and the cosmonaut Carla Molnar. He lived in Raguas in Casavea during his teenage years. Here's a note saying Raguas has the second largest Valmoran population in Casavea after Alagosa, which is a former colony. And so Mr. Sodan was a former sailor and Justicar, which is the Royal Guards, and he wanted to follow in his mother's footsteps, but his intervention in a robbery attempt left him blind in his right eye, which would have disqualified him from going into space, unfortunately. And lastly, we have for Mr. Sodan, he was raised Catholic, but converted to Orthodoxy for his wife, who was originally from Chambois in Cantus. There's actually a large Orthodox population in Cantus, despite large religion being Dream Country. So there you go. And now we have other offices and appointments of state. So these are more minor offices with no pictures for these individuals. We'll just run through them real quick. So Minister of Justice, Martin Susha, I should say. Minister of Education, Iva Kartovic. Economic Development, it's Kristina Kumushar. The Public Health Service is Dom Valskoravic. Agriculture is Sarah Kalada from Vizomo as the next latest party, besides centrist and New Wave. Minister of Energy and Transport, that's Jan Zernic. Labor and Social Protection, Teodor Urla. Minister of Culture and Tourism, Gorza Milasic. Director of the Intelligence Office, Nicoleta Usambir. Telecommunications, Clara Males. And then we have Diplomatic Affairs, so the ambassador to the Valskorian Regional Council, that's Samos Atsuri Domor, who's actually one of the princes, the brother of the King of Valmora. In fact, there's a note about him saying he helped dissolve the Korisi party, that was the former royalist party, after several members were caught in a sting operation. Basically, if a party advocating for you does something bad, the first thing you want to do is distance yourself from it as soon as possible. So that's what happened there. Next, we have the ambassador to the Meridian Pact. The Meridian Pact is the military alliance within the Valskorian Council. That's Yakov Drovaric. The ambassador to the Skorian United Nations is Helena Granic. And then the Valmoran representative of the Big Five, his name is Kasim Durakovic. And then we have minority interest groups. So these are protected minority groups in Valmora. So for Matasi relations, we have a woman named Valerie Izlugamie. For the island of Andoa and Andoans, a man named Bularim Gustovska. Nubikarzian, these are Archondries speaking people from and born in Valmora or around Nubicarzia. Angelin Hayvaroxis represents them. And then for Samarkali relations, Arslan Adzora, and Drentomar relations, Natalia Salonets. And then we have here a map of what Parliament looks like. You have people that are sort of aligned with each other by a large margin on this side of the bench, the other side, these guys. And even though the speaker's technically independent, it's important to note that they're actually from New Wave Party initially, so they sit in the middle. And so here's the number of seats in each party. So New Wave at 258, Centristi at 87, Visimo 48, Stratito Liberal 34, Toradoro at 18, an independent that aligned with these guys at 41. And on the other side, independents on the opposition at 43, Valmora Uyed at 62, Zomagard at 87, and the New Royalists at 54. And this is kind of explaining Big Ten coalition parties have been banned and broken up, seeing as they kind of strangled and had a monopoly of Valmoran politics for a long time. And this kind of also explains the success of these newer parties that came into power recently. And also some demographics they fit in well as well. And that's the lower house. This is the upper house map, which is a bit different, but very similar story. New Wave at 61, Centristi 12, Visible 5 that form the government side. And then in the opposition, 21, Valmora Uyed, Somagard at 19, New Royalists at 26 on the opposition. And then we have the Lord Spiritual, which sit on this side. These are Orthodox bishops that sit in Parliament but have really no power, to be fair. And then we have crossbenchers, which are could go either way. It's important to note the upper house they're basically appointments for life, and a lot of people are thinking about getting rid of them because a lot of people don't like them. So there you go. It's also important to mention, obviously, the Valmoran Parliament is based off the Westminster system in real life. To the best of my knowledge as an American, so I apologize if I'm messing anything up. And they got this system of government from the Malinkans, which is how they ran things for the longest time. So, and then here's a picture of Burajan Palace, where the Prime Minister lives, and this is Bailan Palace, where the King lives. And here we go. Here's from what I copied from the old doc about parties. So these are the more conservative parties here. Do keep in mind the coalition information is outdated because coalitions were banned recently. But so like these were nationalist, populist, and federalist parties that are more right-leaning, and then more left-leaning, progressive, and liberal, democratic, socialist parties right here. And then we have monarchist parties like Korisi, interests of the church and monarchist parties here. And so we saw Visomol, that's an agrarian and green conservative pro-environmental party, uh, more prominent in the central regions of Balagor. New Wave, which is libertarian socialism, progressivism, globalism, the young and hip party, which is in power right now. The syncretic centrists, centricity. And then we have Novo Archidrezi, which is a regionalist Archidreze party that represents Archidreze interests in those areas of Valmora where there's a lot of Archidreze. And then we have other regional parties, such as Domagul, which is a far-right extremist military party, the Zojal Socialist Party, Sermizas, which is a more totalist, more extreme collectivist party that's actually banned in some instances, Nuva Valmora, which is banned, which is a fascist party, and the Uvats, it's a regionalist Andoan party. The Dvorian Assembly is also banned. It's a monarchist party, but they don't like the current monarchists, so they want to have new ones. And then we have the Matasi Way, which is a regionalist Mitas party, based on Talmari socialism, also known as which is based on the Nordic model. So there you go. And that's the government for you guys. We talked about who's in these offices, what are they doing, what parties are they from, some fun facts, and we're going to talk about more fun facts in just a second with the regional fun facts. I cannot tell you how fun it was to make this doc and explore some cultural quirks with this country, and kind of what's going on and what do they do, what do they like to do, and some notable people from each region as well. So without further ado, let's just get into it. And so I'll refer to the map every time we want to talk about a certain region. I'll pull it up in Paint. So for context sake, because I think that's very important, especially because I like sharing maps with you guys. Yeah, I'll do this one. That's fine. Perfect. Cool. So first we have Andoa. Where's Andoa? It's right here. You see this little hand symbol with the purple island, the text with the purple island. Excuse me. That's Andoa. That's what we're talking about right now. So the motto of Andoa is Ando Oviv, or Andoa lives. The capital is Volgograd, which is also the largest city. And then we have, for each region, I've outlined food and drinks that are very popular in these regions. So Kulain, as a spiced sausage, is very popular, native to this region. And they also like to drink white wine, which is known as Vino Skozharic. And we got a couple facts about Andoa. Prior to its destruction in 315 DE, the Sapphire Citadel was the largest building in the entirety of northern Valscoria. So that's the whole region in that area. And so a reconstruction effort is currently underway in the city of Hrazin on the ruins of the original temple. This was a very important and holy site to the Andoan faith, which was destroyed as a demoralizer to those people as they are being conquered by the Valmorans. Next fact, Andoan as a dialect or language is the oldest unchanged Aramic language in Valscoria. It's extremely similar to various languages like Danasan, even containing the letter Ya, which is that backwards R for those of you unfamiliar with Cyrillic languages, which was rendered obsolete in a Aramic script reform in the 200s DE. And so another fun fact would be the National Artisans Guild of Valmora meets annually in the city of Menitsa, which showcases various goods, shows, and competitions from those artisans. And then for each region we have famous people. So we have the Anduin philosopher Mordecai, who codified much of the native faith. Prime Minister during World War I, Davud Sianovich. Danilo Brjanin, who was a cavalryman during the Battle of Zengihais, which was, I believe, in the Great Southern War in Kasavea. And then Monica Perak, who was the first member of parliament that was a woman, was from Andoa. Next we have Avenska. Where is Avenska, you might be wondering? Right here in the south. These guys right here. So the motto of Avenska is Beca Cabranca, which means tossed but never sinking. The capital and largest city is Avenska Bay, which is actually one of the largest cities in the country as a whole. Famous food is a fish stew called brude, and they like to drink rakia, which is plum fruit brandy. Some fun facts about Avenska: has the largest percentage of immigrants. Avenska Bay is constantly ranked the most diverse city in the nation, neck and neck with the national capital Vorduim. It's also called the testing grounds because a lot of research facilities are based in Avenska, coupled with the best schools in the nation across all levels of education. Another fun fact would be the city of Bironia contains the most well-preserved remains of a first-century nobleman. The individual was mummified according to local tradition, buried with his armor, and entombed in the wall of a church. Evidence supports this may have been a mid to high-ranking legionnaire within the armies of Voivode and Regent Dolovar Nashuda during the Hundred Years' War. So, a rare case of a Westerner fighting with the East, which probably wasn't uncommon for this region considering how close they were. But yeah, that's what happened. So, famous people from Evenska would be Teodor Buraj, who was the first prime minister of the country, Momir Baramievich, who was a naval admiral during World War II, Zayman Burim Dushan, who was leader of the Valmorans in the Balkan War when he was stationed there prior to war being declared in the first place, and then Leia Petrichevich, who was a noblewoman that invaded northern Talmer. Now we have Balogor, whose motto is Neskoshena, which means undaunted. Where is Balogor? Balogor is right here in the middle. The blue text. The capital of Balogor is Zhajdova. The largest city is Kvodime. Regional food they like to eat here is stuffed peppers, which is known as sarma in these parts. And the regional drink is rakia chishnya, which is cherry fruit brandy, as opposed to plum in Evenska. So Kvodime is actually the birthplace of the current monarch, and is the third largest landlocked city after Sheograd and Ilopan. Among several other cultural claims, Balagor has the oldest continuously operating kafana or cafe in the world, known as the Mazarym Kafana of Spojor, owned and operated by Hera Spojor, later known as Hera Sima, which was a Mazarite saint. It has been owned and operated by her descendants since 421 BDE. So give or take, wow, that's like over 1,000 years ago. And lastly, the griffin is believed to be first domesticated in this region. Ancient inscriptions detail figures leading large, winged creatures on leads, along with depictions of taking flight with them. Historians do not fully agree on the origin of griffin domestication, especially given that Balagor is mostly hilly, arable land. Wild griffins live in the north part of the country, which is mountainous and arid. So yeah, a lot of disputes and claims there. Famous people from this region, obviously the current monarch who was born here, a folk singer named Zvoran Bogdala, a man named Nikolai Jara, who was a famous war baller from the 570s, 580s, and a man named Yagor Mochak, who was a field commander in Kasavea during World War I. Next we have Despia, whose motto translates to Welcome to Freedom, Sozdrav Slobida. The capital is Despia, largest city, Paranthia. Where's Despia? Boom. Northeast. So gender equality actually began in ancient Despia with matriarchal family traditions, along with the myth of Bojeva the Challenger, gave women in the region equal footing with men in all walks of life. By the time of the Theos Schism, so that's when the church broke into Catholics and Orthodox, women were regarded as equal stature to men in all Valmor societies. And this is just a brief disclaimer of this comment. Obviously, the real world, there wasn't so much equivalence here. This was something I wanted to put in and I felt was more interesting and endearing to Valmoran society and the way they view things. So, gender equality very early on in these kingdoms. The three crosses on the regional flag stand for Argenor, Despia, and Paranthia. So the flag, three cities. And these three city-states formed the alliance which led to the founding of the United Crofdoms or Principalities of Despia. Lastly, Despia receives the most average snowfall per year in all of Valmora. The combination of cold air pressures from Visuna and Mayfjall, along with the northern Bora winds from the Sulamexis Gap, which is that body of water between Goaku and Valmora, have made the region a favorable winter wonderland. And some famous people from Despia, Irena Dolanets, a general that annexed and Doa for the kingdom of Valmora, the knight named Kirins Kijini, who drove the Seluts westward into Samarkand, Eric Vozdren, the first chairman of the Red Popular Front, which would become the Valmoran People's Republic, and then Dejan Rajkovic, the frontman of a band named Taburashi Verdujor. If we get to a point we talk about musicians, I have a whole bunch of musicians that are Valmoran that we can talk about. That's one of them. along with Svor and Bogdala. Whew. Next, we have Drantomar. Where's Drantomar? Drantomar is these islands on the west coast. Their motto translates to Glava da Tomore, hail to the sea. Very naval culture, maritime, very popular here. Capital largest city, Drantomar, like the region. And their favorite food is fried sunfish, also known as mula friceno. And they like to drink Corveo Tomore. The name translates to blood of the sea, but it's actually an Amara blood orange cocktail, which is very popular there. A sword dance called Xoryuva is performed annually on the island of Udorshor to commemorate the conquest of Drantomar by the Sinoman princess Xorina of the Saru dynasty. A lot of different names going on there, I apologize, but yeah, they have a very funny and cool tradition that dates back to when they were taken over by the West Kingdom, that is. Until modern times, talismans were very common and sought after among the native and superstitious Drantomari. The average Drantomari had anywhere between 5 to 11 talismans for different occasions and needs, like fetching water from the well, or not getting sick from the milk, fishing, weddings, holidays, not getting eaten by sunfish, and many more. And so, brief annotation here, Drantomar is a mountainous landscape, so if you got any milk, it was from your mother, someone else's mother, or a goat, and they all tasted kind of the same. The really only thing that mattered for you if you lived here was that you've gotten the good kind. That's all that matters. And lastly, renowned the world over for its eccentric pescatarian tastes, the tradition of mola consumption, or those big 3,000-pound sunfish, can be traced as far back as ancient times. What's to stop a man and his mates from gearing up to spear and drag a 2,000-pound fish and split it between the entire village? In Talmer, the fish is often called the Valmoran lobster due to the apparent similar taste. And then we have some famous people from Drantomar, such as Giorgio Damarcan, who is the first Valmoran in space, Milena Besson, who was an admiral during World War I and founder of the anarchist commune in Bosmaria, Bessenia, Vinko Kozul, which is a professional weightlifter and actor, voted the sexiest man alive in 609 DE, and then Lana Uzilatz, a Valmoran dream conjurer and the leader of the first Valmoran dream temple. Next we have Janyar, whose motto is Stadi Yafudan, which means old and reliable. Where is this old and reliable region, you might be wondering? Northwest. The capital and largest city in Janyar is Sheograd, and they like to eat baryak or burek, which is a meat pie, basically, a very like puffy pastry meat pie. And they also like to drink hard cider, also known as melavutsa. And so, some fun facts, or not so fun in this case. Sheograd has been rebuilt and destroyed over 400 times, far more than any other city in the nation. The greatest losses occurred during the Lokani incursion, as well as the Keskura reconquest of Sheograd. This has earned Sheograd the infamous nickname, the Eternal Burning City, and that's something they wear with a badge of pride in those parts. Janyar contains the highest point in Valmora, known as Genevor Mons, which was once used as a ritual site for the Duramic tribes of the area. And then Janyar was also the last region to adopt an official religion. The rulers of the region's cities were never beholden to a particular faith until the rulers of Sheograd were officially converted to Orthodoxy. Prior to this, many of Janyar and even the Oberkrenya, or the West Kingdom, the rulers were Catholic, Kasim or Lahada, and even atheists. Famous people from Janyar include Sivan Tilrenya, who was a general in World War II, Deogama Zerdemor, the first king of Valmora, Kurinislav Bosiovsky, who was a journalist that photographed both world wars from the Valmoran perspective, and then Nada Benkovska, who was a Valmoran flying ace in the First World War. If you're curious, these blue tags with the region name are songs. I don't know if I could share them on stream. I apologize, but maybe at some point I'll do that. And in fact, what I'll do actually is I'll upload them on the Musica Scoria channel so you guys can listen to them. It's the motto of the Marasal is Sparastari, or the old homeland. Where is the Marasal, shall we say? And the right text right here. The capital of the Marasal is Ilopan, and the largest city is named Nuikarzia. They like their meatballs here, also known as jofte. and they like to drink port wine, which is known as vino durao. And so the Phrygian cap, which is seen on the flag here, was commonly worn by the Marasali since ancient times. The cap arrived, into fashion in the Savam era when it was first described as the Yambian cap. Excuse me again, I apologize. And this referred to the Goakian merchants who brought it over from the native land. The Ilapan International Airport is the largest airport in Valscoria by land area. Linked with the Valmora Metro, it has the greatest reach of accessibility to any major city of the nation's interior, including metro lines that reach Despia, Vordoen, and even Avenska Bay on nearly the other side of the country. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And then lastly, a common gesture involves raising your right hand as if you were to swear under an oath. This dates back to the Middle Ages as a sign that you are trustworthy. So back in the day, liars and ne'er-do-wells would be punished by having their fingers amputated. And so showcasing your hand with all your fingers meant that you were someone who was reliable and dependable. While the crimes and punishments have gone out of style, the gesture is still very prominent in the modern Marasal. Famous people from the Marasal, Izvor Rasima, who was the Hajduk king, or the namesake of the state of Razamar, that bandit kingdom we talked about. A man named Kaimek Aurelios, who was the chicken slayer who committed several war crimes in the Arctic Civil War. Zhega Alisic, who was the best-selling Valmoran pop artist of all time. And Bilo Vaso, who was a Pogemi, and also the first Justikar. Next we have Mitas. We talked about Mitas a bit, but where is it? It's right here, in the south, those islands. The motto of Mitas is Beneslavi, which just means blessed. The capital is Kadraxas, and the largest city is Turanai. The most notable regional food is salad shodu, which is octopus salad, and the regional drink is sambo, which is a lemon or sometimes grapefruit liqueur. Fun facts about Mitas: a common flirting tradition involves admirers stealing the hat of the person they have a crush on. No one knows how this started, only that it works. So please keep that in mind if you travel to Mitas for whatever reason. And if you get there, let me know how you get there. Mitas is the only region where game hunting has been declared illegal. In fact, one can get very close to the 3 axe-horned deer on the island of Opalis. They're said to be very docile and prefer hand feeding rather than grazing. And if you go to Skofokos, the Lullaby Library there is the largest in the world, containing bedtime stories, songs, and poems in over 40 languages. Famous Mitasi people include Cilia Navasandra, who is actually nicknamed the Mother of Mitas, who is an air admiral in World War II. Anna Yankodar, who is one of the greatest tambura artists of all time. Dukagin Dede, who is a Tellurian-born folk hero that fought against the pirates, the Gusari pirates, who we may talk about soon. Not tonight, but at some point soon. And Alan Pintar, who is a conservationist and saved the Valmoran sunfish from overfishing, which is called the mola as well. So next we have Obasia. The motto is simply Big Land, Zemya Valaka. And it's actually really easy to see Obasia on this map. You can see the big interior with the pink text and the cross. That's the Obas, or Obasia. The capital is Tilachis, also the largest city. Regional food is Jevap, which is chevapi, or grilled mincemeat. And they like to drink Rakia Dudova, which is mulberry fruit brandy. Fun facts about the Obasia: hottest temperatures on record in Valmora. As much as the Obas is flat and arid. The shrublands extend to the Sodrantan coast and even into Avetska. The motto of the Obas, while bland at best, does at least do some justice to the sheer size of the land. It is by far the largest of the regions by area, but second smallest in population, after Andoa. And so the capital of the largest city, Tilachis, actually means the wall, and in medieval times was the westernmost city of Valmercia, or the East Krenya, before the wilderness between them and the West Kingdom, the Oberkrenya. And so famous Valmorans from the Obas include Skurlobar, or Scarlet Beard, who was a general that annexed Samarkand for the Kingdom of Valmora during the Unification Wars. Hierjan Osalezka, who was the leader of the entire military of World War II. Burim Selazi, the king of Valmora of the Selazi dynasty, Valmercia. And Gustav Ranevitz, who was the creator of the squid sandwich, which is the national sandwich. Samarkand, whose motto is Uyid ur Armoni i Raznovi, united in harmony and diversity. Samarkand's a pretty diverse region. Where is it though? Big northern area right here. Boom. North Central, you could say. Excuse me, my throat is dry. Whew. The capital of Samarkand is Vostar, largest city, Naraham. Their regional food is Matyashteta, also known as a pleskavica, like a Balkan hamburger, give or take. And they like to drink apple fruit brandy or rakia mela. So Samarkand is famous for its religious demographics. It has the largest Qasim or Lahada population in Valmora, and is the only Lahada majority province in the nation. It also hosts the most sacred cities according to Orthodox texts, which includes, it also holds the most sacred city one of the most sacred cities according to Orthodox texts, which is Naraham, the largest city. Samarkand also has the highest consumption of coffee in all of Alscoria, and Vostar is said to have more kafanas or cafes per capita than any other Valmoran city. Naraham was also the site of the deadliest battle in recent history. During the height of the collectivist insurrection or the Civil War, Naraham was heavily contested between the collectivists and the national government. A monument stands on the grounds of the old church to St. Chadi, inscribing the names of those who lost their lives in the Battle of Naraham. Famous people from Samarkand include Usli and Mohammad Zora, who were the first Lahada commanders and commanded the armies in World War I. Mustafa Ostoyits, who was an imam that traveled with the army in World War II. Maida Zafitz, the creator of Ivar, according to the Samarkand, which is disputed. Ivar is like a red pepper paste, which is very popular in Valmora. And Sabhuddin Topits, who was a Griffin polo player from the early 600s, so very recently, give or take the last 15 years. And now we have the region of Sildranta, Tolgore Yemi Ded, Tolmore Yemi Ma. The mountain is my father, the sea is my mother. The capital largest city is Sonoma. They like to eat sori tespa, which is a gourmet form of mac and cheese in Valmora. And they like to drink pivo Cerno, which is Serbian dark lager, for lack of a better word. Where is Sonoma, or Sildranta? Right here on the coast. West coast. So Sildranta has the highest percentage of Malinskis, which are natives that learn Malinkin first or only learn Malinkin for their entire lives. If you live in this part of the region, specifically in certain cities, you can get by just learning Malinkin. That's all you need. Before gambling was banned in 542 DE, the city of Kahilia was a casino town, and in spite of their best efforts to transition their economy, the town never recovered and suffered significant population loss. The city itself deteriorated over the decades before it rebounded thanks to the popular culture and the hit series Mending Good, which was set in the city, brought Kahilia back into international renown and tourism. And lastly, Sonoma was founded by a Valmarcian prince in self-imposed exile. He grew tired of the Kretic-influenced bureaucracies and the rights back home and fled west to build sandcastles, which is more of a joke, a tongue-in-cheek joke, because if you were to go to Sonoma, hypothetically speaking, a lot of those big palaces and castles are built with sandstone. Wait 1 second. We're back. Sorry, my sister called me. I apologize for the brief interruption. My hair is poking out my beanie. That's sacrilege. So famous people from Sudranta include Yashar the Walhamzich, who is a war bowler on the national team and recent history. Mirka Kursmasna, who is the founder of Konstantingrad, a major city in the region as well. Ksenia Andrich, a woman accused of witchcraft, who is a popular folk hero. And Gorzan Ridanovich, who is a general during World War II. Next, we have the region of Tamurval, whose motto translates to Mikad Irno, ever steadfast. Where is Tamurval? It's right here. with these islands as well. Here's like a meta fun fact for you guys. Tamarval is actually the newest region of Valmora. When I was remaking the regional map, that area between the Marisol and Valmercia was just like such a large area. I was like, that looks like a nice spot for a new region. So I was like, you know what, I want to make a new region there, and that became this Tamarval, which has quickly become one of my favorite regions to talk about. So the capital is Debla Yalvor, largest city is Agnetsi, excuse me, and the regional food is urumbashi, which is a cabbage roll stew, if you will. And they like to drink Mediutza, which is a honey brandy. So Tamarval is the home of Dolovar Shurda, who is depicted on the regional flag. Dolovar Shurda was the regent lord of Valmercia and the peak of the Hundred Years' War, so he's a very popular historic figure. And during the autumn season, people burn wicker or like stick effigies of him in the village of Kosh, where it's believed he was born. The Isle of Senrod, which is part of the region, leads the nation in cherry production. Senrod's countryside is dotted with terraced cherry orchards, and local cherry festivals are extremely common in small villages. Very charming and quaint area of the country, I would say. And lastly, the port of Debeljavor is one of the most important national ports, often contested with Podkolos in the Avensk region, on the other side of the country. They often settle this national debate over a game of tug-of-war in the middle of the country, which is in Tilachis. And so, famous people from Tamarval, we've already discussed Delaware Shurda, and then we have Odi Sartoglu, the first president of Arkandras, was actually born here. Magda Baraki, the first clergywoman in the Northern Orthodox Church, and Skaliuso Vrasema, the current admiral of the 25th Armada. Very important and infamous armada when we talk about the Valmora military at some point in the near future. And last but certainly not least, we have the region of Valmercia, whose motto is actually in Archandrese, Avantoi Kotalfi, or People of the Sea. Point out Valmercia, this region right here. Capital largest city, Vorduin, no surprises there. Regional food and drink, Shodushi, which is basically fried calamari or a specific variety thereof, and they like to drink rakia, much like Avenska. So, something to note, it should come as no surprise when we talk about Valmora. When foreigners think of Valmora, they think of the stereotypes and culture of this region in particular. That includes stoic mountain folk reciting heroic poems, dressing in funny costumes, and dancing in ancient seaside towns. So here's an analogy I put together in this comment. So we often think of Texas as the America of America. Well, Valmercia is the Valmora of Valmora. So there you go. Vorduin is not only the seat of government and royalty, but more importantly, the seat of the Valon Griffins. Vorduin alone has 24 warball stadiums. That's like the most popular sport in the country, and the Griffins are the national team when they go to international tournaments. So they have 24 warball stadiums to accommodate the local warball teams in the area, as well as the Nicolae Jara Memorial Stadium for international exhibitions. And lastly, older styles of Valmercian architecture were greatly influenced by Vescorian architecture. Stone buildings, clay shingled roofs, and copper domes can be seen across old towns of Vorduin, Zorine, and Soltaria. Those are other coastal towns in the region. It is known for the case of Vorduin. Much of the city was rebuilt after the Arcandrese Wars, chiefly by a Vescorian mason by the name of Galerius Cornelius Anamoarius. So shout out to the Vescorians. Ancient Vescorians came over and helped rebuild Vorduin. Famous people from Valmercia, Mazar Abakal, that's me. Mazarym, the patron saint of Valmora, that's where I got my username from. Savos Halarav, the founder of Vorduin. Miloseva Maras, who's a pioneer in nuclear technology and energy. Benilo Obaji, who invented the first vaccines. And a bonus one for you guys is literally every emperor of modern Valmora with some exceptions. And this is the map we've been referring to talk about those regions. I just had it pulled up on paint.net, which is easier that way. And this is the flag map, which is a bonus map. This is the regional flags put together, interlaced with the borders. So there you go. And that's all I have for you in the regions of Valmora. Overall, this was a very fun doc to cover and work on over time and come up with these cultural quirks that really bring more life into this project and this country in particular. Um, Something I do want to do at some point is take other countries and follow this similar format. We've done this with Nigeria and Vietnam, so when we have a day when we cover those countries, we'll definitely cover those docs as well. But I don't know what else I want to cover. I think that's all I want to cover with regards to completed docs about Valmora. Overall, just a super overload of information. We would go for like 2 hours, so that's a lot of information. I think we'll probably save some more information for another night, and we'll actually do, like I said, other countries in this format as well. But yeah, so that's probably gonna wrap up World Building Wednesday. But the stream will not end there, believe me. Um, so next week, I think we want to cover space information with regards to the solar system where Scoria resides in. And then we also want to cover in the near future other countries in this similar format, which will be really cool. Uh, Sorry, I'm so bad at like outroing this segment, but yeah, that's your World Building Wednesday. I hope you enjoyed these segments. I had fun talking about these despite tripping over some things. But we can only get better with time and perseverance. So there you go. There you go. So now let's transition to some gaming, shall we? I just don't know what I want to do though. Like, so No Man's Sky got an update today. Um, what else got an update? Or Switora we covered last night, and I kind of want to do some more of that as well. And also Lost Ark I'm pretty far in, but I haven't played recently, so I don't know. You know what? Let's see what these fellas think, because they're not around right now, but I can definitely ask them. Um, there's already some. No. I don't want to do worst batch without Nick and Sam. If Nick and Sam aren't around, I don't want to do those troopers. That's what we're doing basically. But also, Cyberpunk got a recent update too, and I actually haven't had like a super long playthrough, uh, or even as in depth a playthrough with this Cyberpunk. So that might be a good game to do as well. I don't know. So I'll think about it for a minute. We'll think about it and then pick up something. Excuse me. Okay. Thought I had him. Damn it. He was just here, and I was trying to show him some information. Oh, I don't know. Should we leave it up to fate? Should we leave it up to fate? Like the spinning wheel, you know? Would that work? I guess we should, shall we? We can get rid of this. What you call it? That thing. What do we put in here? Like, oh my gosh, it's been so long since we played Stardew as well. Like, oh my gosh, there's so much we could play. I don't know. Yes, Nick won't be present for worst batch, so if we do Spatoor tonight, it won't be that. I'll put it on there. Cyberpunk. I do have it downloaded. To be fair, I could do that. I'll put Stardew because it's been a while since we played Stardew. I'll also put WoW, so like Legend of Fu Kang. I'll put Lost Ark. Oh, there's so many. There's like so much I want to do, but I don't know what I want to do. It is how you say, ungood. Do we give it a spin? Let's give it a spin, shall we? What's it gonna be? We'll do 2 out of 3. So that's 1 vote for Lost Ark. It's a vote for Cyberpunk. Okay, sure. I guess we're doing that. Alright. You two will be delighted to know I have let fate decide. The wheel has spoken. Spoketh me to enter the city of night. So I guess, yeah, let's load up Cyberpunk, shall we? I guess Alex is getting what he wanted. Brennan and Nate are online. Brennan's playing Destiny, Nate's playing Spatoor. Nah, but we left it up to fate. We gotta do it. We gotta do it. We're gonna do it. Edit stream info. Yeah, okay. Oh, whoa. Select action. What happened? Okay, we're good. Why is that? What is happening? The launcher's being weird, but it's not like affecting my game, I guess. We gotta retitle this stream. Shut up. Delete file failed code 5 access is denied. What does that mean? Exploring Night City Mazarym broadcast. Cyberpunk. Cyber Ussy. Get rid of some of these extra tabs so we can free up some space. Just now checking the WhatsApp. That's funny. Okay. Can I play without this being an issue? I feel like I can. Yeah, I think we'll be fine. turn off Discord. I mean, I'll keep it on just in case we have some side commentary. Cyberpunk is flatlined. I should probably look this issue up. I should stop the game. Play again. Okay, it didn't come up this time, so I think we're okay. Cyberpunk is. What is happening? Should I? Okay, let me try this again, and like, if not, I'll revalidate the game file. I don't know. I don't know what is happening. Okay, play the game. Flatlines instantly. All right, we're gonna do that. Stop the game, please. Manage properties, updates, local files, verify integrity. Okay, it's actually going pretty fast, so here's hoping this will fix it. It's already like 15%, so that's a big game. If this ultimately ends up not fixing it, I'm gonna have to do like a fresh install, which will kind of suck. But I'll do it overnight, and then we could do another game for right now. But then come back to this at some point. But here's hoping this will fix it, because I kind of do want to play this. I also have Fallen Order, which I never really considered to stream because I was having a little bit of issues with that, but that's a possibility. So is Witcher 3. I've always wanted to go back to this game. And I got pretty far, but never finished it. Um, Battle of Polytopia is not a game I would consider streaming, but like I mean, it's a cool ass game. It's such a relaxing and fun, simple strategy game. It is also a mobile game, but like the desktop version is way more expansive. So, oh, and by the way, 50 followers, so 50, we'll do a mega bust, which is to say a long stream, and a segment of that stream will be Garfield Kart Furious Racing. If not all the fellas, at least me and Nick, you can guarantee we'll have some time trials for you. Believe me, that's some high octane gameplay you won't want to miss. Believe me. Believe me. So we're at 60%. Hopefully, here's hoping. And also, No Man's got that huge update today. Like Sentinel, like okay, like I'm not a wizard or anything. I'm not like psychic, but like I saw Sean Murray tweet out that gun emoji. I was like to my friend Daniel, I was like, Daniel, they're definitely gonna release a combat overhaul. And he's like, okay, whatever. And I was like, boom, they did it. The Madmen, they did it. Um, I won't read through the full patch notes. I'm sorry, but like a lot of cool big changes coming out in No Man's Sky with the combat. I think like 2 or 3 new weapon types you can choose from, new enemies. You can control a mech now, or I guess you could control a mech, but there's like a new kind of mech you can control. So that's really cool. That's really cool stuff. I meant to send Alex this planet that I found on Reddit. This is that planet Palmer. Planet I was talking about earlier on Reddit. What is trying to download? Oh, Twitter. It's updating. All files successfully validated. Here's hoping that is the case. Flatlined again. Go to your app data local CD Project Red. Make a backup of all. What? Why would you? That's why. That's so. Hold on. Cyberpunk error unhandled exception. Ooh. Yeah, I think either way, it's gonna have to. Yeah, we're gonna have to do a fresh install of Cyberpunk, unfortunately. So yeah, sorry, Alex. Sorry, Dalton. It really won't let me launch the game. But it's only gonna take an hour at this rate, so I mean, there's still hope. I could play some for the meantime, and then have it install in the background. So I think that's what I might do. It is gonna be a little hard trying to stream and download at the same time, so we'll see how far I can get with that. Um, so what's pretty low end? Like, I mean, maybe I can play Lost Ark until it finishes installing, or Star Wars. I don't know. I don't know. Oh wait, I know what I could do. Is that Valentine's event still going on? WoW? Excuse me. Oh, it still is, dude. I gotta farm those bosses, dude. We gotta get those mounts. The the renamed a the renamed 1% drop pink rocket that you can get for Valentine's Day for killing the guy. Um, sure, why not? You know. So for posterity's sake, I just realized I could change my category right here. I've never done that on Streamlabs. I've always gone to the browser, and it updated perfectly. Cool. So yeah, well, I'll play some WoW while this installs. Wow, how about that? It's already at 5%, which is I think pretty fast for a 60 gig game. So oh man, this is being a little sus. There we go, we got it. It's also exciting as the new patch for a while comes out next week. I don't think there's any barrier to entry. Like I haven't done any of the 9.1 nonsense. I'll be honest. I did it briefly when it came out, and I was like, I'm good, thanks. But I mean, the new zone looks cool. The new mounts look cool. They're adding some changes to Torghast, to my understanding, but I don't think that's the priority. But I don't know. We'll check it out. We'll check it out on stream. We'll also go back to Fukang at some point, but for now, we have to pull out the high level dudes. Like right here. Try to farm up them dudes. I've actually never played WoW during February, so like of the nearly 10 years I played, this is like the first time I've ever done the Valentine's Day event. It's very similar to the Halloween event and Brewfest, Oktoberfest, where you just go in and kill a boss and that's it. In case you're wondering, for my non-WoW player viewers and friends. But yeah, so this is like one of my mains. I have like two mains. I swap back and forth. My Orc Monk and then my Human Paladin, which I'll play after this, after we do this run. So, I mean, look at this. I mean, a couple weeks ago, this place was pretty quiet, but like, we got people chatting, we got people chilling here in Orgrimmar. That's nice. It's always nice to see, you know, especially in the older cities. But it's not uncommon, especially on this server, which has a larger horde population. And it's also a roleplay server. If you know anything about WRA, it's like I think the biggest horde roleplay server in the Americas, to my understanding. Maybe Emerald Dream is bigger, or Moonguard. I don't know. I think Moonguard's more alliance oriented, is my understanding. But I'm not even a role player. I just came here because I had a friend who played on here, and I moved all my guys here. So, be that as it may. You got some role players right there. That's really cool. It's always fun to watch them doing stuff from a respectable and non-creepy distance. All right. Just come up right here. Expect to pop any second. Hit it with the three dudes. Might as well pop this. I almost kind of forgot how to play this guy. I'll be honest. We got one of them dead. Let's split with the three dudes again, because why not? I can do that as a monk. This clone that I'm stepping in is killing me. No one has been killing this guy except my clone, so I'm gonna kill him. Where is he? Oh, he's right here. Gosh. It's so hard to see him. I am about to die. He's almost dead. Just finish that off real quick. Why not? Oh. I've already gotten that. I was like, what is that? Alright, thank you, group. Goodbye, group. Alright, let's see what we got. Got a rose, which is a cosmetic, which we already knew that. And we can sell this necklace for 6 gold, which is like pocket change at this level. So, okay, cool. On to the next guy. Fate Hands. Fun fact, Fate Hands, I got that username from my dad, from a D&D character that he played back in the day. who he got from his uncle, my great uncle, as another D&D character. So the coveted and holy name of Phaetons has been in our family lineage for quite some time. And naturally, he's a character in some uh, other world building shenanigans I haven't talked about yet on stream that I've been working on for some time as well. Yeah, paladins are also really cool. The aesthetics and vibes, especially in this game, is really nice. They put on the Inquisitor title, which you get after reaching, I think, Revered or Exalted with the faction in Drustvar, which is these guys right here. They're hunting like witches and stuff and being Inquisitors, so there you go. That's where you get that stuff. Let's check our Cyberpunk download. It's at 25%. Not bad. Not too shabby. How long is the queue for Alliance? Oh, it is much longer. And yeah, you can tell WRA is a horde server because like I see one guy, a couple dude. Oh wow, that was fast. Never mind, forget it. I stand corrected. I apologize. Wait, what? Oh my. Okay. Um. Oh shit. I did random Shadowlights dungeon instead of the Valentine's Day thing. Okay. I guess we're doing this. Oh my god. I really can't read, dude. I feel bad if I left them behind, man. I don't want to do that. Okay. Oh, shit. Oh my god. I was like, wait a minute, that's not the right loading screen. Damn it, dude. There's 4 bosses. This is a long one, too, I bet. Jesus. What is he doing? Oh, he died and he was trying. Why was he killing these guys? What is the healer doing? I mean, these are easy to kill. This guy's helping me out at least. How did it come to this? How the fuck did it come to this? Let's say hello back. Someone say hello. Hello. Oh. Oh, we can mount up here. I'm an idiot. I've been out of the WoW game for like years. Well, a year at least. This is my first dungeon in like a year and a half. Before this, I was just simply doing open world content. The big guy. Avoid the thing. We got it. Oh gosh. Did I do that? Okay. I guess we have to kill these guys to spawn the first guy, is what I'm understanding. I'm by no means a good player in World of Warcraft. I just do whatever DBM tells me to do. And that's enough, because if I don't die and do okay damage, they won't kick me out. Kill the big guy. Oh. Cool. He's almost gassed up. Now what? Where do we go? Going through here? We're just being decisive about where to go. Here, yes. Oh, we're shortcutting? Oh, smart. I would have never have guessed that. I'm glad we waited. Except my dumbass can't hop over. Got it. There he is. That's the dude we gotta kill. But I guess we're gonna kill these guys first so we don't pull them later. I'm okay with that. Whoa. Whoa. Why am I on aggro? What the fuck? Oh. We did it. We got it. Oh god. Look, I know it's a normal dungeon, I'm still stressing the fuck out. Maybe it's residual PTSD from the New World expeditions. I don't know. Oh, God, that hurt. And we got ankle biters. Oh, shit. There's so many. I can't break free. Just AoE him down. We got him. We got him. Collect. Who the hell is next? Oh, group stealth. That's cool as hell. That's fucking rad. Keep going. That's neat. So now we can choose our fights. Pick and choose our fights. Ugh. What is this fight? You know what? Why not? I don't know what the fuck that is. I don't know what the fuck that is. Oh, this is so easy. Come on. Am I just like that good? I keep getting picked on, is that why? Oh god. Oh wow. They suck. It's okay. That really hurt. I sneezed it. Oh god. It's a fucking bear I'm biting. What the hell? Cool. We did it. What's this? Oh god. Yeah, that's a bad mess. Oh, that's also not good. He did. He did. popping off, dude. We are. We're doing it live. What the fuck? What is that? Oh. I can't do that yet, though.
Your penance is at hand. Their pain shall enlighten.
Are we supposed to kill those? I guess we can kill them so fast it doesn't matter. Yeah, like that. Whoa. Okay, cool. That's about as good as my new thing. Is this a heroic? It's heroic. Huh, okay.
I tire of your boorish presence.
Lord Chamberlain.
Seems
Oh, we're almost done.
gone, rabble.
I should have saved the, I'll probably pop it again, depending on how long this fight is.
You are renewed my contempt.
Oh. Soak it. Oh, we got it. This is it. Wow, so that was a, that was an interesting detour. um, was not anticipating to do that, because I can't read. Anyways, what we came to do. And our Cyberpunk's at 60%, which is, wow, that's really fucking fast. Jesus. This gives me more speed, but it sucks. I have better bracelets on. And I got a Memory of the Righteous Bulwark. Avenger's Shield increases your damage of your next shield by 30%. But that's for protection. I'm not a protection paladin for this character. And that's a dope head, but it's male. So maybe I'll give it to. Oh wait, I can't. Unless I have like a alliance shaman. I wish. I mean, so if they do like cross faction gameplay, right? Like with the pre-made groups, could they at least let us cross faction mail different items to each other? Like, I mean, the auctions are cross faction now, and you can mail account bound items, but like, I wish I could just mail like this chest, this headpiece right here to my character on the Horde, because I don't have an alliance hunter to the best of my knowledge, or a shaman, unfortunately. But that's okay. Wow. Just bragging about my accidental heroic. Excuse me, I apologize. I'd love to see an updated Stormwind, like, graphically. It hasn't been updated, like, really, since... Well, okay, like, not really since Cataclysm, but they've done minor things since then. So, like, for example, I could show you, like, so this lion's head and the statues have been added, I think, in Legion. And then after the Cataclysm, the Mage District was destroyed. So in Legion, they rebuilt the park like this. That's a monument to Varian Rin. And a Vietnam Memorial-esque memorial for the soldiers that died in the Broken Shore, to my understanding. Yep. That's been there since WoD, but they haven't done anything with it, to my understanding. But I would love to see like a graphically upscaled Stormwind City, or even a Silvermoon. Like, I mean, I feel like we're spoiled with Borealis and Dazar'alor and Suramar even. Okay, that was a little rude, I think. Can we get the key back, please, sir, man? Non-binary, please. And this was from BFA, or the end of Legion, the Embassy District, which is interesting. It's just one big building with the allied races, which is nice. But see, like, this, I feel like they've been teasing us, you know? They're teasing like a graphical overhaul of some of the older zones. Because, like, look at this. This is a gorgeous building. And it's just like the other buildings in the Elven Forest. These pumpkins have, like, probably more polygons than half the buildings in this zone right now. That's a new house. That's another new house. These are new looking ancients. Tents. Wheelbarrows, you know? We're almost there. Almost feel it. Again, I mean, I'm not saying it's a feature for the next expansion, but I would be very surprised if that wasn't the case. And there's even some assets that are similar in the new version of the Arathi Highlands. You know, if you've ever played BFA, you've gone over there, did the war fronts, like, you know, like, they could totally use that for these places. I mean, come on. They're very cultural, similar. They're very cultural. Excuse me. Oh my god, I can't even speak right now. I apologize. They're very similar, culturally speaking. Um, the Kingdom of Eretor, I think it's called. Or no, is that what it's called? Whatever. Arathi and Stormwind, basically, is what I'm trying to get at. But like Dalaran, Borealis, Kultiras, and Gilneas are all kind of unique human kingdoms. Yeah, okay, here we go. Finally, we're doing what we came for. Finally. Oh look, another paladin. We're just gonna pop all the cooldowns at once. I didn't mean to taunt him. That was a bad idea. It's okay. We're killing him. This is like faster than the Horde group. My goodness. Hashtag fast as ever. What can I say? 34 seconds. Or no, 23 seconds. Wow. Oh, buttermilk delights. Delicious. Cyberpunk's at 80%. I know, I go to Goldshire. There we go. Well, this is Goldshire, technically. The inn. I can run this again on Reginald Mazarym Merengue, because I believe the amount only will drop if you're above level 50. Or at level 50 for that matter. I could just try to level up Vini, but I don't feel like do not feel like touching that character right now. Boom. Another fun fact, because I don't know if I played this character on stream at all. I've been playing Fukang, and that's probably about it, actually, besides the other characters you saw recently. This was my very first, like, legit World of Warcraft character from 2012. His name used to be spelled with a G on Farstriders. I made him in conjunction with my brother, who made a Worgen Mage. Uh, he sat at like level 40 or 50 for the longest time. I kind of just used him to unlock Death Knights. Played a Death Knight for about a year, and then went to my Monk and Paladin combo, which I've been rolling since Draenor basically. And then I brought this guy over to that server that they were on and leveled him up to where he is now. So, but I have to say, I think the Worgen Heritage armor is really freaking cool. I think the gun axes from Kultiras you get are like they match so perfectly. So that's why I roll Outlaw with him. I think Outlaw is like my favorite rogue spec. It's just fun, like whipping out pistols and the gun. The two gun abilities you get are fun. I like the pirate vibe of it. Is cool. And the Dreadblades were cool. Artifact weapon. Though I think my favorite has to be the it's either the fist weapon for the monks, like the Hulk hands, or the corrupted Ashbringer you get skin for paladins. Yeah, they kind of spoiled us rotten with weapons in the in Legion. I gotta say. I mean, freaking Death Knight's got Arthas's Frostborn, but like into two swords. That's insane. People that wouldn't have known that between then and now, and like would probably go nuts if they heard that. Same with the Ashbringer or the Dewhammer or whatever else. I mean, they had to make up a lot of weapons for these guys, but like, man, some of y'all got lucky if you got like a notable weapon like those. But I'm kind of glad that was also the case because I'm kind of glad they made up weapons for a lot of people. Like they could have given rogues like Thunder Fury, but that would have been just such a huge meme. Even though there's an appearance that looks like that. I'm also glad they didn't give Demon Hunters the Warp Glaives as enough as a weapon. You know, but I'm sure there's people on the other side of the fence saying, it's kind of lame they gave everybody Ashbringer or Doomhammer or whatever. It is what it is. It be what it be. I mean, technically, at the end of Legion, you gave up the weapon to save the planet, so be that as it may. I think by the time I hit this dungeon and finish it, my download should be done. It's looking to be done, and I think okay. Sorry. And I think I'll make a brand new character because I've never gotten really far into Cyberpunk. You know, I don't know what I want to be. Just post up behind this guy. Okay, so I kind of remember how to play this. So hit him with this, we combo it out, and then hit him with the roll the bones. What did they give me? Oh, more points. Why are you pulling him this far? Jesus. What's happening? That was it. It was a bit longer, but not as long as the last. Well, It was longer than the last run, but still pretty short. That's to be expected. It's a very short drop rate for these things. So. What do we have for Cyberpunk? 96%. Okay. Depending on how fast I can get in on another character. I probably have better luck on this guy because he's a horde. I don't know. We'll try our luck because we still have actually a few days before this goes away. We could try to run again on stream if we get lucky. You can see 5 minutes. That wasn't even 5 minutes for the other characters, so I mean, I don't know. We could try the other my Team Hunter as well. Honestly, this is gonna finish. I'm kind of more in the mood to just play Cyberpunk, honestly. So, you know what? I will be right back, and we'll get ready for Cyberpunk because it's gonna finish in a second. We're back. Sorry for the brief absence. I'm back. I just scarfed down some fucking leftovers like the savage barbarian I am. Man, that was delicious. Um, let's see if this works, shall we? You don't know. Alright, we're here at this launcher. I play. What's gonna happen? I'm gonna have errors again. Hopefully not. Yeah, this here was a fresh install, so here's hoping no issues. Close it a while. What is happening? Let me do some research, because now this is really bugging me. Cyberpunks. Clean install your video drivers. Oh, Jesus. Let me go to my video drivers then. I hope that means I don't have to end the stream. Where do I go to? Performance, probably. Settings, graphics. Oh wait, system. Can I like? I don't know if I'm like stupid because like there was once an area I could just click and be like, oh look, install. Is it here? Nope. Like crazy. Like for what? Meets the minimum requirement for what? I think I have to go to AMD's website. Yeah, there was a release today, actually, for drivers, so I think we'll install that, shall we? Right, this is from Radeon. Yep. Troubleshooting live on Twitch. It's actually going to take quite a while, it says. Okay. More than likely going to have to restart my computer if I have to do this. I don't know. I'll let my fellas know what's going on. Excuse me, gosh. I apologize. Is it this button right here? What is this? That's debugging, though. It's not like updating drivers. This thing finished. Let's at least try to run it, shall we? Like, here it is. Space required 1 gig, that's fine. Let's do a different folder just in case. On this drive. It's not what I wanted to call it, but thanks for that. Nope, not there either. What the hell are you doing? What is happening? Oh, it did make the folder. Whatever. Okay, I'll try it. Here's hoping this works, because it'd be nice to play Cyberpunk. But me don't know. I can close out of these, I believe. Or minimize that at least. Oh gosh, this may cause my stuff to fuck up. I hope not. I hope not. I really hope not. That is what we want to install. Your display may flicker during install. Great. That's normal as far as I'm aware. So here, I'll just do this for posterity's sake. But rest assured, I'm still here. So